There seems to be a big fuss going around Stewart-Haas Racing, as Kevin Harvick shocked everyone with a potential retirement after the end of the season. This puts the team in a very difficult situation, and the fact that both owners of the team look in different directions when it comes to signing a driver for Harvick's spot. While both of them had different opinions as to who would be a good replacement for Harvick, they agreed to give him a chance to re-sign with the team and continue his collaboration. But this is something that Harvick is not interested in, and it seems like we'll have some trouble in paradise. Tony Stewart wanted to give Ryan Preece a shot at Harvick's place, while Gene Haas wanted to give Cole Custer another chance amid his underperformance this season. Still, both sides came to their senses and offered Harvick a chance to re-sign with Stewart-Haas Racing. But what they didn't expect is to have such a low interest in re-signing Harvick, who doesn't seem to have much left to prove in this sport anyway. Harvick is currently 46 years old and is a former NASCAR champion, and rumors have resurfaced about him finally calling it quits and retiring from this sport. On top of that, he is already a Cup Series champion, so it's not like he has much left to prove at the age of 46. Nothing more could have been expected from a 46-year-old champion on the track. It's evident that his time is soon going to be up, which means that there comes a point in life when other things take a higher priority. And it seems like Harvick has finally understood that his time to focus on something else rather than racing has come. At the same time, though, Stewart-Haas Racing are not willing to let go that easily of the former champion, as they might feel like there isn't someone worthy of replacing him. But is age the only factor that Harvick has when it comes to retirement? Probably not. Harvick has been really vocal when it comes to the next-gen car, largely from a safety standpoint. Multiple drivers have been hurt in wrecks, and the veteran Denny Hamlin has also spoken about the safety concerns when it comes to driving the next-gen cars. Stewart-Haas Racing has employed Harvick since the 2014 season, as he was NASCAR's most successful driver at that time. However, prior to the race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the co-owner of Stewart-Haas Racing hinted that the 46-year-old former champion's time was up. In response, Haas said that the organization is trying to re-sign Harvick yet again until the 2024 season. If Harvick agrees to this, he'll be 48 years old at the start of the 2024 season, with his birthday coming in December. In his career, Harvick has 37 wins with car number 4, being a consistent force out there. And you can totally understand Stewart-Haas for not wanting to let go that easily of Harvick, since there aren't many better drivers than him that could replace him at this moment. Apart from Harvick, drivers like Eric Almirola, Chase Briscoe, and Cole Custer are also rumored to leave the sport anytime soon, with Custer's future seeming very uncertain. Well, it seems like Harvick is on the move, and we all know that keeping up in NASCAR until you're 50 years old seems like an easy job only if you are Mark Martin. It's completely understandable why the former champion wants to go this way in his life, which is something that Stewart-Haas understood perfectly and something that is in the nature of things. So, what comes after Stewart? Stewart-Haas Racing obviously needs to find a replacement for the champion, and although they might not like the choices that are available out there, they will be forced to choose from something. The one choice that would be the easiest one for them would be Ryan Preece. The 31-year-old won a NASCAR Truck Series race this season, but it's far from an impressive season for him. If Ford decides to go in another direction, there are some younger and more attractive prospects. Zane Smith is one of them, with 3 wins, 12 top 5 finishes, and 17 top 10 finishes in his first Truck Series season with Front Row Motorsports. On top of that, the youngster will compete in the NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series in select events in 2023. This eventually means that Smith would gather more experience from these events, and that would make him more than a suitable candidate for Stewart-Haas Racing. Between these two, who would you choose if you were in the shoes of Stewart and Haas? Obviously, the age difference is a huge one, and although both of them are nowhere near comparable, the younger choice would be the better one for the Stewart-Haas team. Still, he is a driver that, if given the equipment, shows a huge potential to succeed. He could be a spectacular driver in the Cup Series if Stewart-Haas Racing decides to invest in his future, but every time you sign a young driver, chances of failure can, and mostly do, happen. There can always be 2 open seats in the team, so Stewart can have Preece in a ride too. But unless Ford has a different plan, Smith seems to be the best option within the camp. If not either of them, Stewart-Haas Racing employs Riley Herbst in the Xfinity Series and has been running well this season. If they want to go that route, Herbst could move up with Monster Energy. Nevertheless, we are having one of the most interesting periods ahead of us, and it seems like Stewart-Haas are going to have a difficult time ahead of them when it comes to picking the right driver. The fact that the team has been constantly penalized throughout the season is something that could bring a dark cloud upon them. At the playoff elimination race in Charlotte, Cole Custer was penalized for deliberately holding up a line of traffic on Charlotte's road course with his teammate Briscoe storming by in a desperate effort to move into the third round of the playoffs. Briscoe did finish ninth, which was good enough to bump reigning NASCAR champion Kyle Larson from the playoffs, as the field was cut down from 12 drivers to 8. After Sunday's race, NASCAR issued penalties that were a $100,000 fine for Custer and a loss of 50 driver points as well as 50 owner points for SHR. This penalty has potentially ended Custer's career with Stewart-Haas Racing, and he may be on his way out of the team. Although Haas wants to keep him, and he is pretty much the best teammate a NASCAR driver could possibly have out there on the field, it's evident that moves like the one he did in Charlotte are very costly for his team. Tony Stewart and Gene Haas have an interesting period ahead of them, and it seems like this would be the perfect time to bury the hatchet over who's going to be the next driver. Now that Stewart wants to bring Preece instead of Custer, it's evident that the contradictory moves would only do Stewart-Haas Racing harm rather than good. Dale Jr. spoke about his recent conflict between Haas and Stewart when it comes to picking the right driver, as he said, Gene Haas once quoted Cole Custer to have another year to prove himself, and that Tony Stewart wants Ryan Preece in that car. I wonder how that goes. I don't want to piss Jenna Fryer off, so does Jenna say to Gene, "Hey Gene, could I use this on the record? Is this on the record? That you are telling me that Tony Stewart wants Preece and you want..." So Gene knew that he was telling Jenna to publicly go and say that Tony Stewart wants Preece, and Custer would hear this? Custer would read this not today. Custer is walking around in his house going, "Fricking Tony Stewart wants Ryan Preece instead of me?" Custer didn't live up to the expectations, which is why Stewart doesn't have any more patience and wants to bring Preece to his place. On top of that, Haas believes that Custer needs one more year, and the fact that he has sacrificed himself in Charlotte the way he did is both good and bad for the team. Good because you know you have a driver and a teammate that can always put their race in jeopardy for the good of the other driver, and bad because it is a costly maneuver and the penalties might be even harsher in the future. If the team decides to replace Custer right now, it would be additional problems, as it seems like SHR will be without both Harvick and Almirola after the 2023 season. With that being said, what do you think will happen next with Stewart-Haas? Do you think that the team has some tough decisions ahead of themselves? And do you think that they should keep or sack Custer? Let us know in the comments below.